I want to thank you very much for joining us for my first Facebook Live presentation. My name is Jim Bernau. I'm the founder and CEO of Willamette Valley Vineyards. We're standing in the vineyard named after me, Bernau Estate Vineyard, here in the Dundee Hills, which is a sub-AVA, an American viticultural area, sub-AVA of the Willamette Valley, which is also an American viticultural area. Behind the camera is Maddie Cameron, and I really appreciate what she's doing for me. She's masked up and we're properly distanced so you can actually understand me during this presentation. So I really appreciate her help as well. And among the people that are responsible for putting on this program includes Mandy Morgan, who's helping with answering some questions. She's the head of our marketing. Christine Clare is here and also behind the camera. She's our winery director, and she'll be helping deal with your questions. I'm told there's a place to comment at the bottom of your screen, so you can actually ask me questions, and I'll answer those questions at the end of this part of the tour that we're going to give through the new Bernau Estate Method Champenoise sparkling wine facility. Now, I know some of you just tuned in, so here we are. Among these Pinot Noir vines, they're 16 years old. Here you can see the clusters are just ready to pick. You know, one of the things that a lot of people don't know about the Willamette Valley is how extraordinary it is for ripening Pinot Noir and Chardonnay and Pinot Meunier for sparkling wines. And here's the reason why. It's our unique climate in the North Willamette, where flavors and aromas that were developed in the fruit at much lower sugar levels, what they call Brix levels. And so this is one of the things that Argyle has been teaching wine consumers around the world in their work in Dundee. And this is kind of it's not a big secret, because people are already learning about the importance of growing these grapes for Method Champagne sparkling wine. But definitely people are starting to learn more about it. And what we also have learned is that people have reasons to celebrate. And there's a lot of things we want to celebrate in our lives, and Method Champenoise sparkling wine is a great wine to celebrate with. So here these clusters are, these small Pinot Noir clusters. They're just ripening and ready. But what I thought I'd do while I'm out here in the vineyard, and while some of you are probably still just tuning in, is to talk to you about a subject that's on everyone's mind. And that is, what has been the impact of these forest fires that were in the Cascades, and in some cases several fires here in the Willamette Valley? What's the smoke effect been on these clusters? Well, the organic compound in smoke that's the problem in winemaking is called guaiacol. Guaiacol is basically, you'd find this influence of guaiacol in, for example, roasted coffee. Or you'd find it in your barrel-aged Pinot Noirs or barrel-aged red wines, or you'd find it in whiskey. But guaiacol in much higher amounts is a challenge. Now, the guaiacol that gets extracted from inside a barrel in wine aging has more pleasant characteristics than the guaiacol that is essentially the same organic compound that is found in smoke that could influence the grape. Now, what that guaiacol that's in smoke can have some astringency, which is a problem for winemakers. So we really don't want it. And here's the good news. The good news is that the smoke that came into the valley affected vineyards in many different ways. Some vineyards not at all. Many vineyards not at all. There were pockets where the smoke did settle, and in those pockets where the grape was at a particular point of maturity, where that guaiacol would then form with the developing sugar molecules to bind up, to be essentially bind together and make it a challenge for winemakers to deal with it in the cellar. So that's really the problem. What we found in doing our own micro fermentations to test our vineyards is we found the fermentations to be clean. Now, we did find in one of our contracted vineyards a problem with the influence of what I call essentially smoke or smoke taint in the fruit from a vineyard near Silverton, which was in the direct path of that east wind that came off of one of those fires. So I'm not here to tell you that it's not a problem for Oregon winemakers. But what I'm here to tell you is that many of the vineyards are unaffected. And for example, even if they're slightly affected with, let's say, Pinot Gris, for example, or Chardonnay, those white wines are pressed off in the press, right when the grapes are brought in. So very little to no problem at all in those later fermentations. It's really only fermentations that occur when the grape skins are left in the fermenting juice, like when you're making a red wine and extracting the colors and flavors from the skin. One of the things we've offered to our growers is that we do pick all of our grapes by hand, but some growers pick by machine to save money on the cost of picking. And what we've offered to those growers is to split the cost of the difference in so that they can go out and hand pick those clusters, because when you machine pick, the machine actually knocks the berries off the stems, breaks the skins, and then those juice is then lying in those skins before it's transported to the winery. So we've come up with some creative solutions to greatly reduce any problem that could exist for some of those contracted vineyards. But we're delighted to say we're in really great shape with our approximately 500 acres of wine grapes that we manage on our own. Now, one of the other parts of the Oregon story isn't just our weather, it's our soil. And in this particular place in the Dundee Hills, it has a unique soil profile. And this is true of many other Oregon vineyards here in the North Willamette. We have underneath, we have the ocean bottom. Oregon was lifted up by out of the ocean many millions of years ago through tectonic plate action. And then those tectonic plates made a lot of friction, and they dove down underneath the continental shelf and made a lot of molten lava. And that came up and flowed as lava, as basalt, and it formed these hills, whether it's the Salem Hills, the Dundee Hills, or the Eola Hills. And that is then the foundation of many of our vineyards, this basically ancient basalt soil that's volcanic in nature. Well, not really in geologic terms, it's really not too long ago that Oregon experienced a cataclysmic event, and that was the Missoula Lake flood. It occurred between around 16,000 and 14,000 years ago, when a glacier that had blocked the middle fork of the Clark River had dammed up the Clark River, and the water built up behind that, basically that ice dam, flowing all the way up into Montana, and made one of the largest ancient freshwater lakes in the world. But then so much hydraulic pressure was formed that it knocked the nose off of that glacier. And all that water within a period of 2 days came flowing out from the top of northern Idaho at Pend Oreille Lake. It flowed right through Coeur d'Alene, right into the eastern Washington. It followed the Columbia River drainage, and there was so much hydraulic pressure that the water, over 500 feet high, backed up into the Willamette Valley, filling the Willamette Valley up like a bathtub. So all that topsoil got washed in here into the Willamette Valley, which is one of the reasons why the Willamette Valley is one of the greatest growing regions in the world. Well, what I wanted to show you as part of this amazing story is us finding what are called glacial erratics here in the vineyard. For example, this rock here I found not too long ago as I was walking, checking the vines in this block of Bernau Estate. And here you can see a piece of white granite that originated somewhere in Canada as that advancing glacier broke it off of the native rock there, that white granite rock in Canada. It got encased in ice, and then when the Missoula Lake flood occurred, that chunk of ice with this in it floated all the way from northern Idaho, all the way here, and then when the water receded, the ice melted away and left this glacial erratic in our vineyard. Well, there's no place in the world that has a story, a soil story like the North Willamette does. And so I want to take you in and just show you a few more of these we've found here. And I'll go in and show you the new building that's under construction. These are not small. These are white granite rocks that were encased in ice and floated all the way here. And then when the water receded, they were left here. We found this one actually in the vineyard by that large black walnut tree when I was disking it. And then we found these two here at the construction site as we were preparing to build the building. Now, a number of you have seen this rendering. We're actually right at this spot for the new building. And I wanted to, first of all, thank my wife, Jim Bernau, who is leading the construction effort of Bernau Estate, and also Joe Chauncey, who's the architect for this building, and C.D. Redding, the construction firm that is responsible for doing the construction. They were the ones who also did the new remodel at Willamette Valley Vineyards, if you've seen that remodel. And what I thought we'd do is we would walk in through the cellar, and I'd describe various parts of the cellar to you. We can't really go through like we normally would because it hasn't been finished. But the first place I'm going to take you is inside this cellar, where we're going to be aging in a secondary fermentation the method champenoise sparkling wine. Now here we are in the cellar where we're going to have compartments. These compartments will hold over around 2,900 bottles each. In each one of these, there'll be 4 compartments on this side, 4 compartments on the other, for a total of 8. So we'll be able to handle 24,000 bottles of method champenoise wine for aging. And then here in this space, we're going to have a tasting area for people. I'm going to take you now into another part of the cellar so you can see some of the other things we're doing. Now we just walked through the area where the restrooms are. There's a large utility room that's to our west. And this area you're looking at that is an area where we're going to have a tasting bar here. And then we're going to have a very large video screen here. So during our periods of the year when it's pretty inclement and you can't get out and look into the vineyard yourself because of the weather, we're going to be able to have a video screen so you can actually almost step into the vineyard virtually in this space while you're trying the wine. This is the elevator shaft, and there'll be stairs down right here into this space, and that's how people will come down to enter this space. It's dark in here, and intentionally so. This is the area of our cellar where we're going to be having our barrel-aged still wines, Pinot Noir. And this will be a place where people can come on their tours to try the Pinot Noir that has been grown in different sub-AVAs of the North Willamette Valley, whether it's the Dundee Hills or Granville Carlton, Tualatin Hills. As you know, the Willamette, and soon there'll be even a Salem Hills AVA in time. We have a new couple AVAs here in Oregon, in the North Willamette, Laurelwood, which is I believe, the first AVA named after a soil type, laurelwood, and then also the Tualatin Hills, which has recently been named by the federal government as American Viticultural Area. Stop here just for a second to show you a spot that we designed. Now, of course, there's a lot of this property that's designed for good weather, but this is a spot that we designed for people, for visitors, and for our owners to be able to take a look at what we're doing in our biodynamically farmed vineyard while still being out of the weather. I was just going to explain to you the path we're going to take as we go into the building. Here we are down here, and you can see how very large boulders are being used to hold back and form a terrace for this biodynamically grown garden. And we're going to walk actually up next to here to the pond. And this pond serves, of course, as you know, a very important part of this gorgeous garden, which we want to create this incredibly relaxing and beautiful experience for people to enjoy the wines and to enjoy Oregon. But this also serves the benefit of taking care of the fire marshal and the fire marshal's requirement for the amount of water we needed to have on the property to properly protect the building, to meet the fire codes. So follow me. Yeah, you can probably tell by now that taking care of the fire marshal isn't cheap. So here you can see the kind of the construction in progress for how this retaining pond will work to meet the codes. And then here you can see by viewing this, I'm going to take this and I'm going to put my back to the building so you can imagine what it will look like when we get it finished. So now with the building behind me under construction, you get a sense for just what kind of experience people can have out here in these terraced gardens. You know, a big part of our story for the Oregon wine industry and also for Willamette Valley Vineyards is how committed Oregon winemakers and wine growers are to farming and making wine sustainable. As you know, biodynamic farming is a certain type of farming that takes great care in how we interact with nature and how we make sure that we're not using inputs from outside the vineyard or outside the farm, and how we're being holistic in our approach in creating the right kind of soil conditions for growing plants. And this biodynamic garden and the vineyard is going to tell a great story about what Oregon winemakers and wine growers are doing to farm sustainable. Now there's other certifications. As you know, we're live certified, low input viticulture and enology. All of our vineyards, 500 acres of vines, is certified live. And so we meet very strict standards for how we take care of and grow our grapes. And you know, even how when we bottle our wine, you know we use natural cork, which is certified by the Forest Stewardship Council and the Rainforest Alliance, because it's the very best enclosure for wine. When you buy a bottle of wine with a natural cork in it, you're reducing the carbon footprint of that bottle of wine by 25%. And we all have a duty to do everything we can to reduce our impact on our planet. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to walk up through here, and we're actually going to walk through the hole in the building where the fireplace is. So I'm going to take you inside and show you what it looks inside. Okay, here we are. We just walked through the fireplace. We're now inside the building, and so to my right, you can see where the restrooms are located. Those are going to be the offices for our ambassadors that will take care of our owners, our club members, and our guests. And then right over here is actually the entry to the building, and then right to this my right is the place where people will be able to pick up wine orders as club members if they want to. So we'll have a large storage area here and a large concierge area here for greeting our guests. Here you can see the elevator shaft take people down into the cellar. Looking out here, you can see the parking lots. You know, they're kind of roughed in, but you can see some of the lighting. You can actually see the crew that just finished up here. The hammers actually stopped just like a minute or so before this program started. And they're busy at work. You know, we did have to put our construction on pause because of the COVID pandemic, but then we were able to restart it. And as you can see, we're making really good progress. We expect that this building will be open by early summer of 2022. So it'll take that long to complete it, to do the finishes on the inside, but also you can imagine just how detailed and expensive these very unique terrace gardens are going to be. But I think you're going to love them. They'll create a memory for you and your guests that I think will hold in their mind about what it means to live and make wine in Oregon. Now here you can see some of the floor plans. This is those compartments I was showing you that's in the cellar that hold those bottles that are going through secondary fermentation. Here is where the Pinot Noir barrels will be aging. This is the presentation of the tasting area here that's in the cellar. And over here, this is the first floor of the building, and you can see where we walk through the fireplace here. There's the entry here, and where we're standing right now, where these plans are, is in this wine and food pairing area. There's private tasting areas here, and there's a kitchen to the west, a full kitchen, and a tasting bar here, and then a club room tasting here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to walk through here, through the club room, and you're going to be able to see a fireplace alcove. That's going to be really nice here, and then we're going to have a fireplace up here at the end of this elevated club room here. If you take a look, I'm going to point you to where that club room patio is going to be. That club room patio will be off to the north of this building, northeast of this building, right here with a fire pit. Take this with me. So just to stop you here, you can see this this top ridge line. This is the main ridge beam of this room. So the ceiling will be that high in this space. And then if you look over at the end of the north end of the building, you can see that little diagonal cut in the end wall where it's framed up. That is going to be the roof. And on this side of the roof, on the south facing side of the roof, will be our solar panels that go all along here. And then in this area, you can see how the beam comes down. This structural beam comes down. That is really where the ceiling is lowered over this serving bar. This will be the passageway. This will be the passageway from the public area of the tasting room into the club room. There you can see the fireplace alcove here. And then there'll be a ramp that will come from this level of the club room up to this upper level of the club room. So there'll be a fireplace right here. But I want you to think a little bit about what a remarkable place this is going to be able to come and enjoy the views, the scenery of the Willamette Valley. Now here is these 16-year-old Pinot Noir vines that are here, and over there I'm going to show you this is where we're doing our new planting. That's about 15 acres of vines there. We're planting additional vines here. This is Pinot Meunier, which is all the way down there at this section, and then coming this way, Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. And then in this block number 1, we haven't planted that yet, but we'll be planting that this next spring. And I haven't talked to Christine Claire about this, and I know she's listening to me as I speak. But one thing that Christine Claire might do is she's really good at saving money. So she might actually have you come out and help her plant. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, this facility will be surrounded by vines in the not too distant future. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you is a little bit about this property. Here you can see the original winery building. It's a small building. It's like a small French winery where the living quarters are up on the upstairs and the winemaking is on the lower level. That's very common for very small boutique French wineries. And that's how it was originally designed. And we're going to be improving that facility because although some winemaking is taking place there, we're going to do a lot of winemaking here now. And so it gives us an opportunity to do some fun things with that building that's down there on the highway. And of course you see here, this is Highway 99. Highway 99 is the most visited arterial in the state of Oregon by wine enthusiasts. And in a surprising number of people who live here, but also people who travel from all over the world to come and see the Oregon wine industry come right down Highway 99. And so we're working with the Department of Transportation to widen Highway 99 so that we include a turn lane to make it much safer to come in and out of the property, but also to widen the highway so we have a turn lane that turns into our property coming from the east. If people are driving their rental cars from the Portland airport, it'll be really easy to come up and see us. There you can see our pump house. We'll probably do something a little bit with that. As you know, we're going to have some animals on the property, being a biodynamic grower. We're going to be very holistic in our farming. So it'll be interesting to see what we can develop with Christine, who's our winery director in this location. And then, you can't see it today. Mount Hood is being shy today, doggone it. But we do welcome this cooler weather. Obviously the rain has helped us a lot. It's helped put out the fires, but it's also helped wash any ash that was on the grapes off of the grapes. But it's also hiding this gorgeous view of Mount Hood, which is right through there. You know, we did have to take down one of the older diseased black walnut trees that was here for a long time, and it was right down there. And what we've done though is we've saved this black walnut, and we're going to make all of our bars in the tasting room from the black walnut tree that came down that lived on this property. Well, that's what I had to show you. I know I've probably got a few questions. Is that right?
Yeah, we just had a few questions from those that joined us. So the first one, Jim, is when do you anticipate to open this facility?
Well, I know there's a lot of pressure, right? And I've been trying to be a little vague. So I've been saying early summer of 2022. And that's because you're never really sure what's, things you might run into, challenges you might have. But I can tell you that my view is I'd like to make sure all the gardens get complete before we open, because I want to make sure it's done right. So that's why, and really our company, as you know, is very strong. We're unusual in how we grow our business. And so some people kind of look at our company from a financial perspective and they say, oh gee, their earnings should be higher. Well, actually our earnings are really good. But what you do when you have a dividend is you then deduct the dividend before you have reported earnings. Well, what we've done is we've sold stock to build all these incredible facilities and to plant all these remarkable vineyards. And the payback will come in the future. But the cost of the capital exists today. And so people aren't thinking about how they really should think about the wine industry and this company. This company really can't be measured today on a quarter-to-quarter basis. It really needs to be measured on what we're doing for the future. And there are a lot of people, fortunately, who joined us as owners that understand that and are patient investors. But the good thing about a preferred stockholder is a preferred stockholder gets to receive the benefit of their ownership right now. They can take their dividend, they can add 15% more to the value of that dividend and spend it at the winery, even from afar. And remember, shareholders get a 25% off of anything they buy at the winery. So you add those benefits together, and it really is very rewarding to people who are owners of Willamette Valley Vineyards.
Another owner asked, will there be a preview day prior to the opening to the general public?
Oh my heavens. I don't know how many of you remember this. I was young at the time when we did the opening for Willamette Valley Vineyards just south of Salem. And we did have a Founders Day at Willamette Valley Vineyards when we built the production facility. It was held in spring of 1990. It was May of 1990. I remember that day because our shareholders brought their families with them. And it was shoulder to shoulder in our winery building. But one of the things they did was they ensured our success because they actually spent $88,000 on wine on a preview day. And the company cash flowed its business from the very first day. If you look at our company from a financial perspective, one of the things as owners we can take pride in is that we have retained, since that day, $23 million in retained earnings. Our assets are $69 million in assets, and we only have liabilities of $19 million. So if you're a preferred stockholder investor and you're concerned about what is the equity position of the company, because preferred stockholders, of course, have first rights to the equity before common, obviously you can see we're a very strong company. But on the performance, the financial performance side of our business, we have like a 61% gross profit on the wines we sell. We have a 17% operating income margin, and we have an 11.6% after-tax net income margin. So all you have to do is Google the matrix on wineries to learn that Willamette Valley Vineyards performs at the top of our industry for a winery our size.
The next one was how many acres were planted when we purchased, and how many have we added?
This property, when we first bought it, was a 17-acre property that had 15 acres of vines on it. They were 16-year-old vines. And since that time, we have been able to have our neighbors lease us on a long-term lease with a right to purchase because of a tax reason. The arrangement was structured that way. So we're now in the process of now planting another 15 or so acres. It's just going to take some time to get it all planted out. So that's where we are, I think, in our planting schedule.
And the last one I got was, how much stock is left and how much can I buy?
All right. Well, as all of our stock offerings have gone, most of you who are viewing our owners know that we have saved our owners the brokerage commission by selling the stock ourselves. We have found that it's very easy to sell this stock. So we actually, most of the handling of the selling of the stock is done by Kathy Shannon, who also answers the phone, along with Mary Shepard, who run the reception office. So this is a very inexpensive way to capitalize a company rather than playing an investment banker. And so we have sold over $6 million of stock. We got started, in July? And so we have confidence we're going to sell that again. The price of the stock will go up from $4.85 to $4.95 after the end of September 30. So if you're going to make a decision, you might want to make it sooner rather than later. We'd love to have you join us, but here's the thing that's important to us. When you look at the material we've sent you or you go online to read, there's a questionnaire. We want shareholders who are going to add value to the company that they own. We are greatly benefited by these remarkable shareholders that we have, who love wine, who love telling the Oregon wine story. And so we are selecting subscribers to the company's stock who are interested in wine, buy wine, will become a member of our wine club, and support the winery in those means. Now, it doesn't mean that at some future time you can't use your dividend in another way. But what we're really asking you to do is to use your dividend to buy wine, which is a great benefit to you as an owner, so that you can continue to grow the company. Here's something that very few people know, except for those inside our business. This is something that's really fascinating about Willamette Valley Vineyards. Many people don't know we were the first crowd-funded business in America. We sold common stock directly in 1989 to the public, under the review of the Securities and Exchange Commission, becoming the first Regulation A self-underwritten offering in the country. The second, and then we achieved the NASDAQ listing for that stock, the WVBI. Well, people don't realize the power of this idea. We now have 16,000 preferred stockholders in Willamette Valley Vineyards. Last year, they bought over $2 million worth of wine from the company directly. That's about 25% of all the wine that we sold direct, which means our shareholders are more than covering the cost of the dividend as well as the cost of taking care of them. Think of that. Our capitalization strategy is self-supported, self-funded. And that's kind of how we like to look at our business in many ways, including the way we behave in our vineyards and in our cellar. Any more questions, Christine? Okay. Well, it's been, how long? It's been 38 minutes since I started. I really appreciate the time you've given us. I'd like you to take a hard look at us. Obviously, there's risk in making a business investment. The material we provide you, or the material you can go online to read, includes a prospectus. It includes a 10K, which is last year's annual report. It includes the quarterly reports that we make under the requirements of the Securities and Exchange Commission, as well as the requirements of the NASDAQ, which we have a second listing for our preferred, WVVIP. So look those things over. As you know, there's a minimum and a maximum shares that you can purchase. We have a maximum because we don't want to have this stock concentrated in any one particular place, because it defeats the idea. It defeats the idea of keeping the risk low for families, for how much money they're committing to this company, but it really defeats the idea also of limiting how many owners we can have to support the growth of the Oregon wine industry and of Willamette Valley Vineyards. Again, thank you very much for joining me today.